morning and welcome back to everybody, especially Dr. Ogilvy and our primary audience from the China University of Technology, or TUT. And thank you for joining us in today's Changing Hearts and Minds, Exploring Environmental Education in Africa series. So I've been given the honor of introducing today's speaker, but I wasn't actually sure how I do it. And I thought, wait, how about I just state the facts? So, Ruan Schlebusch completed his MSc degree at the University of the Free State. He's currently the project manager at Homebrew Wild. He's also a qualified teacher, a collaborator with the Leadership for Conservation in Africa. And here's a cool fact, Ruan and I have been friends for 16 years. But then I thought, that's kind of boring. Let's try another way. So, take two. Ruan completed his master's degrees at the University of the Free State. He is currently a project manager at Homebrew Wild, and is also a collaborator with the Leadership of Conservation in Africa. In addition to this, Ruan is a qualified teacher, and I'm proud to say that we have been friends for 16 years. But that still doesn't give an impression of the type of person Ruan really is. So we tried this again. Ruan Schlebusch is the personification of a jack of all trades. Whether it's a complicated experiment or surfing the Atlantic Ocean, he's capable of doing anything he puts his mind to. He's very family orientated, he loves nature, and in his spare time, he enjoys watching movies, reading, and various types of exercises. Now they say a picture tells 1,000 words and words tell 1,000 stories. Today, Ruan will tell us more about how to create a sense of wonder and the art of communication. So with that, I hand over to you, Ruan.
Oh, that was beautiful. Thank you very much. You're going to have me in tears before we start.
He's a very sentimental person as well. Let me just add that.
And I've known you for how many years now? And you made a huge impact on me, Ruan. So thank you and stay blessed.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ogilvy. It's a pleasure to know you. I mean, you've inspired me just as much. It's incredible how many people you meet along the way if you really try hard, or not even try hard if you're lucky enough. Actually, it's trying hard, and we'll get to that. But I'm going to share my screen, and then we're going to start off with today's presentation. Good morning to everyone from a beautifully sunny Cape Town. I know for a fact that the north of the country was really cold over the weekend. Cape Town was cold as well, but we have beautiful weather now, and it's an absolute pleasure to be with you this morning. So, as Aisha so kindly mentioned, I am the project manager of Homebrew Wild. Homebrew Films it's probably one of the biggest production houses in South Africa at this particular moment in time, and we make television on all, well, I mean, cooking shows, talk shows, variety shows, music shows. But what I'm focusing on with Aisha and the rest of the Wild team, we're a small team, is creating wildlife documentaries. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. Creating a sense of wonder, the art of communication, or communicating science in wonderful ways. So that's not me on the other side of the screen. That's a wonderful Western lowland gorilla, a silverback from the Democratic Republic of the Congo, where we filmed in one of the parks there a few years ago. Can't remember actually. So I'm going to start off with a lovely little saying: no one tells a story like a local. Now, this is a byline from Showmax, and I'm sure you all know what Showmax is. Luckily enough, we're all South Africans. And this is really true. You are only good at what you love and what you know well. Now, in telling stories, especially everyday stories between friends and family members and loved ones. We tend to, as I said, the one thing that sets us apart from the rest of the living world is the ability to lie, or to make up stories, to create, to entertain, and all of this with words and with pictures. Now, usually we only have words because we speak to one another, or we're lucky enough to have a cell phone, and we have photos that we take of everyday happenings, and we tell stories like that. A few years ago, when myself and Aisha were young, we didn't have cell phones, so we had to use words only. But it's not really lying. I just like to use the word. It's fun. But we do create a sense of reality that is slightly distorted, don't we? That's what we do. That's how we embellish life, how we make it interesting, how we make it relatable. So keep that in mind. No one tells a story like a local. And with local, I mean where you're from, where you were born, but also, if you think about it, what you do, what you were educated in, what you read, what you watch, what you listen to, the radio stations, the type of music, the genres of books that you read. So that could also be local, whatever is in your sphere of influence. So I'm going to show you, oh, excuse me there. I'm going to show you a video of what we at Homebrew Films Wild focus on. What is our sphere of influence? So enjoy this, it's beautiful. Okay, lovely. So that was a little show reel of what we have and what we do and what we focus on. And even there, we, as a company, made some stuff up. Some of the noises that you heard, especially when the two giraffes were necking, Those sounds weren't really made in the field. We added it later to make it an immersive experience. So even there, we lied a little bit or distorted truth. Now, in front of you are but a few of the companies and things that we've made. We've worked with the BBC, the Natural History Unit, Smithsonian Earth, SABC 2, SABC 3, SABC 1 at this particular moment. We've done Groen, Animal Planet. A really big project that we were working on is Wildlife Odyssey. Those were 80 episodes of 81-hour episodes of wildlife blue chip documentaries, which was a wonderful, extremely mad project that we worked on. It was lovely. So those are the things that we and the people that we've worked through and with. So I want to start off with a little experiment, a cognitive experiment. Now, one of the maxims that I've always firmly practiced is quite a simple one. If you don't know what a maxim is, look it up. That's what dictionaries are for. But it's really simple. It's back to basics. Always make something as simple as humanly possible. Do not overcomplicate your subject matter unless it is called for. Now, this is really important. Whenever you speak to someone, whenever you tell a story, whenever you want to convey anything, keep it simple, keep it concise, then everyone can understand. Unless it's with your colleagues, people of your own, in your sphere of reference, and then you can make it a little bit more complicated. But even there, keep it simple, keep it straight, keep it to the point. And you can only achieve a comprehension and make something resonate if you understand your subject well. And this is a real test if you do or not, is if you can convey it simply or not. Now, I'm going to test my maxim, and I'm going to ask a simple question. What is it that I, Ruan, what is it that I do? Now, you can state it like this. It's simple. If I'm in the sphere of influence that I'm in with other producers and other production houses, I say very simply, I produce nature documentaries. Now, it's only 3 words. It sounds really simple, but if I said that to anyone on the street, they might not really understand what I do. What is producing? Nature documentaries. Okay, that's really simple, but let's simplify it. Let's test my maxim. I tell stories using camera footage of nature. And now everyone understands. We can all relate to that. I mean, I tell stories. With what do I do it? I use it with camera footage of nature. So it's simple. There I am trying to film. Vuyo and I there at the top in the Tsitsikamma. It's just outside of Neisner a long time ago, filming a sunrise. Oh no, sunset. It was a beautiful day. So there, you see what I did? So I made everyone now understand what it is I do. I took something that sounded simple and made it even more simple, just so that everyone's on the same page. Now, the second question is, how do we make stories relatable to the person on the other side of the screen? So let's make that simpler. How do we make it simpler for us so that we know how to do it, and the people or the audience or the target market, as it were? So if we simplify it, we see, how do we keep them watching till the end? Because that's what you want. We want the people and the audience, the viewers, our target market, to watch till the end, or in your case, read till the end, or listen to the end, or be there until the end, that they enjoy the full experience. Otherwise, you spend a lot of money creating something that but someone only watches halfway through or 10 minutes in, and it's boring, and they switch to another channel. You have to make it as convincing as possible, as if the viewer, the audience, the target market is there next to whatever you are trying to show them. I'm going to show you a clip. Before I play it, I'm just going to explain what's going on here. On the left-hand side, we have a darker image and a really bright image on the right-hand side. So what we have is the image before we grade it, before we make it TV ready. And on the other side, it is TV ready. I'm going to play it, and then I want you to listen to the difference in sound as well. Just to, and then when we're done, I'll explain to you what you were listening to.
Like monkeys, ringtails are highly social.
And live in large groups of up to 30 individuals.
Like monkeys, ringtails are highly social.
And live in large groups of up to 30 individuals.
But unlike monkeys, in this troop, the females are in charge.
The males are at the bottom of the pecking order.
And the females frequently remind them.
Now, I'm absolutely sure you know, as well as I do, which one of the two you would want to listen to. If you listen carefully, the one voice, the voiceover artist, was recorded with a cell phone. I'm telling you this. In a room, there was no, it was just a guide voiceover so that the editor knew what to put together. And the other one was a properly recorded voiceover with a proper voiceover artist in a recording studio. It sounded beautiful. He has a rich voice. We had extra sounds with it, birds tweeting in the background. And the other one, it was just boring. I mean, it's faded out. It's not a good picture. So even here, this is where I'm telling you, this is where we're lying, or we're distorting the truth a little bit, because on the left-hand side, you see the truth as it is. This is how we filmed it, with Halima sitting there. But I'm not going to go into the technicalities of it all, but this is how we record it. It's called, it's raw footage. We filmed it in what's called an S-log, but that's for another day. On the other side, it went through a process that we call color grading, where a color grading artist sits in front of a screen and they literally go color in the picture, right? To make it more beautiful, to make the greens pop out, to make the blues pop out, to make you want to look at it. And then we add a lot of sounds, what we call in the process final mixing. You have a final mixing artist, and they add sounds and noises of birds just to make it really cool. Lovely. Now, when you do that process and the filming making process, you should always ask yourselves, and we do ourselves, what could we be doing that could be misunderstood? Or in what way might our words be misconstrued? We have to put ourselves, and you have to put yourselves in the position of the audience. Do some introspection and always remember, create a message that resonates. Now, I want you to keep this little thought experiment of ours back to basics. Keep it simple, and straightforward. Keep it in the back of your minds. And this is how we tackle every single problem from now on. Now I'm going to move to the filmmaking world. And that's where Aisha and I found ourselves at this particular moment in time. Now, what we do wildlife documentary, so we work with factual information. And this is one of the few places, filmmaking and natural documentary making, where we can assume. I know there's this thing you should never assume, because if you assume, you make an ass of me and you. This is the one place where you can assume. We have to take it for granted that our audience does not have a clue about what we are talking. I mean, how many of you know what primate that is in the picture? Well, it's a gelada from the highlands of Ethiopia, but I can't assume that you know. I have to tell you. Otherwise, it's just a photograph. To illustrate my point, I'm going to use a script. And it's a very good place to start. I'm going to show you two examples. One is a first draft, a very rough draft, just to get the story together, to slap the footage together in the edit. And then I'm going to show you a final script, which is quite something else. So this is the first one. It's the title, and that's also always a working title, Odzala, the soul of the African rainforest. I'm going to read it to you. It's early morning in Odzala National Park in the Republic of Congo. This is Gaban, a son of Odzala's magnificent rainforest. His ancestors hunted here. Gaban has inherited their skills in the art of tracking, but he doesn't use it to hunt. He uses it in his daily routine to help protect the precious species of the Congo Basin. Drawing on his experience and knowledge of the forest, Gabon interprets sounds and signals that would be meaningless or inaudible to most. Now, I'm not going to show you what Gabon looks like, but he's a very friendly gentleman and a gorilla tracker at Odzala National Park. And this is what we had to work with. We had Gabon, we walked with him, we filmed him walking, tracking the gorillas and finding them. So this is what we call a sequence. We had a beautiful sequence, and we just put words to what we saw on the screen. It's not very interesting. It's not very exciting. I mean, actually, we can have it without any words, and you'll still know what Gabon is doing. On the other hand, when we look at what we would call a final script, it's not a real final script. It's a final script. We have something quite different and quite exciting. I'm going to read to you the right-hand side. Eyes all around us are watching, waiting silently with bated breath. Sliding into the dense forest cover makes them invisible. But it's obvious from the turmoil, someone or thing was just here, swallowed deep within the very heart of the vast and impenetrable Congo rainforest, lives clandestine troops of gorillas. Now that sounds much more interesting. That sounds like a real story. So here we can use anything. We can use the rainforest, we can use gorillas, we can use eyes looking at us, we can even make eyes look at us from anywhere else in the world. You wouldn't know that I am using eyes that we filmed in Neisner here. You wouldn't know. So that's part of the lie that we tell. And on the left-hand side, and so if we compare these two, you can see the vast differences. We have a title, or the title here changed to Odzala, the Lost World, which is I mean, it really doesn't matter what the title is. If you look at the right-hand side, there's lots of notes of how we can improve what we'll see at the end on the screen. A mysterious start, let's feel drone image, mysterious theme, the dark, cloying, utter claustrophobia. So those are notes to the editor, the person. I'll explain what an editor is now, how we can make this, use these beautiful words and make something that is worthwhile watching. On the other hand, we just have a bunch of sentences in a paragraph, and it's really not that exciting. So scripts are really important. This is where we start telling the story, and this is where we use words to their full potential to create something magical with the footage that we have. The footage in itself should already be magical. We're filming gorillas in the Congo forest, and very few people get to go there. So we have something that's magical, but now we need to use our words and use our skills to convey it in such a way that it's magical to everyone. So, who is the artist is the next following question that you should ask yourselves. Who created this? And it's important to remember that it wasn't me. I didn't do all of this. I didn't even write the script. I supervised the person who wrote the script. And it's what we call a team effort. And I think it's one of the most incredible team efforts in any business or in any line of thought in the world. Filmmaking on this scale is a team effort. There are many people that work on it. So I'm going to explain to you what a wildlife filming team consists of. If we wanted to, if we're busy creating a 1 hour documentary or 3 hour, 1 hour documentary series, then we have a lot of people that work on it. So I'm going to start at the very top and work our way down slowly. What we have at the very top, we have the producers, the executive producer or the series producer, and then the line producer. Now, these people look at the big picture, the overall budget, the proposals, and the communications between the company, Homebrew Films, and the and whoever we're selling it to. This might be the BBC or the National Geographic or whoever. Just below them, we have production. We have head of production. We have post-production, production manager, production coordinator, production assistant. And these people look after the management, the logistics, the crew, and the costs. So you have the head of production, that's basically me. And then you have the production managers, the people just below me, to make sure that everyone is where they're supposed to be at a given time, in a given location, whatnot. The production coordinator and production assistants, they basically fetch the coffee. That's what they do. That's where you start off if you start off in production. Now we move to the people that really do the magic. We have the pre-production team. So pre-production is before we start filming, before we start even going out into the field. You have the researcher, that's Aisha, who did the lovely introduction. She researched everything. And she gets all the facts together, what the place looks like, who can we contact, what animals are there, more about the animals, and contacts and locations, as I said. Then we send all of that information to the script writer. Now, the script writer is an actual writer, a person who has the ability to create beautiful imagery with words and whatnot. And then all of that goes to the production team, and we start with the logistics, the film permits, the paperwork. There's a lot of paperwork involved in filming anything. And then you have the role players, the people that make this possible. And you can't do it without them. The national parks, the reserves. It's impossible to just go out and film without the support of the national parks and reserves. Private reserves are just as important. And then for international filming, we have filming commissions, we have ministries, and we have departments that make it much easier for us to film, to go to these beautiful countries and do what we do best and what we love. And that is, it's a very important skill to have. And another way of telling stories is, how do we convey to these people, okay, cool, we want to tell a story that's probably already been told, but we're going to do it in a slightly different way. And then we have the production. Now, this is where it gets exciting. This is where everyone really starts working. The production is the actual filming bit. So this is where your crew go out into the field and film. You might or might not have a presenter. Most of the things that we produce do not have presenters. We just do a voiceover artist. You have your director, that person who has an overall feel of the project, the look, the feel, this type of music, who directs the camera operators and the camera assistants, and the sound operator is really important. The data wrangler, that's the person who takes all the camera cards and they store all the data footage on massive hard drives so that we know what to use, when to use. They're basically like a modern day librarian, if you think about it. Then you have a really important person or people, organizations, with people we call location specialists. Now, these are fixers. These are people, a fixer is a person who makes it possible for us to film something in the field. So say I want to go and film the desert elephants of Namibia. I have a person that I know I can call, and I pay him some money, and he makes it possible for me to go there. He pitches tents, he knows where the elephants are, and whatnot. So brilliant people. Science advisors, people like Dr. Ogilvy, I call them and say, listen, I need some advice. I'm not too sure what to do now. Is there any new research that you've been doing? That's really important. Game rangers are really important because game rangers know they are the locals. Remember that thing that we started off with? No one tells a story like a local. Well, game rangers are the locals. They know the animals, they know what they do, they know their little quirks, if they have any, the animals, and they do all have quirks, believe you me, they do all have quirks. And then animal wranglers, people that are specialists in handling some types of animals, snakes, frogs, reptiles, mammals, whatever. These are all specialists in their field. And it's really important to have them on your side and to have them on your team to make it possible. The filming possible. Now, you might ask yourselves, now, why the hell are we here? It's an important question to ask. I just told you everything, what filming is and what it is and whatnot, but why are you, the primary audience, the students from TUT, here today? Well, if you looked at with the registration slide, at the very top, where just below, on top of my talk's topic, it says conservation skills. So it's important to remember that filmmaking, well, the single most valuable resource in filmmaking are trained and qualified natural scientists. And what are you? You are in training. And that gives you an incredibly valuable skill, something that I and Aisha and the people who will be taking over from me in hopefully a few decades' time will have to utilize. We cannot do what we do without you. That's impossible. So I'm going to burst your bubble a little bit and tell you it's almost, if you were thinking of going into film, it's always almost impossible to think of working for the BBC and National Geographic and whatnot. I'm just going to focus on the BBC. A few years ago, if you wanted to work for the BBC's Natural History Unit, you would have needed at least a master's degree in any given natural science field, which is absolutely phenomenal if you think about it. But if you think about what beautiful things the BBC produced, that makes sense. They had people who loved, respected, and understood what they were going on about. They were real conservationists, natural biologists, naturalists. They knew what they were doing. They had a dream, and you have a dream. And that's what we're going to focus on. So in traditional filmmaking, like we do, education is key. So I'm educated, Aisha's really educated. She has a PhD, I have an MSc. But that doesn't necessarily, well, education is key, but it's not the be all and end all. What is important to remember is you have a valuable set of skills that can be utilized in various places, especially here in filmmaking, where we tell stories. So where do you fit in? So in the nature and television interests, hopefully you'll do your postgraduate degrees. That's all actually not even necessary. You can just go out, become game rangers, become whatever you feel like, conservationists, and that can be utilized by companies like Homebrew Films. So natural history positions in television. You have research and writing. That's what Aisha does. You have camera operators. So one of our most senior cameraman, Claudio Velasquez Rojas, has a PhD in bird life. And he just one day decided, you know what, research isn't for me, academia isn't for me, I want to become a camera operator. I want to film. And that's what he's doing. He took this beautiful picture, a photograph in the background of the gorilla. So there you have it. He was a classically trained scientist who just wanted to do something else. He wanted to do natural history filmmaking. That's what he is today. And he's quite famous today. You can become a director. We have one of those as well. He didn't even study any nature conservation field or biology or whatever. He just wanted to tell stories. And that's what he did. He used his love for nature, of nature, and decided, you know what, I'm going to start this. We have presenters, we have production. That's my role. So although I've studied classical sciences, I went into a field and I'm good at logistics and whatnot. So I'm using what I know, my set of skills, and I'm using it to make a success of whatever I do. Or you can one day, when you're rich and famous, you can become a producer of a natural history show. So a producer, in our sense, in Homebrew Films, our producer is Jaco Loubser. He's also the CEO of the company, and that particular individual oversees the entire project. And they usually have the big dream that they work on. So extra skills are always a bonus. Your nature and science knowledge, and this is where you should say, read, and read some more. You can only tell stories that have an impact, stories that are beautiful, stories that resonate, stories that are remembered by people if you read a lot. That's important. You can't do magic with words. You can't employ beautiful sentences with beautiful footage if you don't read. You have to read as much as you can, and read everything. Don't only read books on nature, read books on, I mean, anything, any genre. If you love romances, read romances. That's where you learn how to write, how to read, how to understand what people love and feel. Cool. Something else that you can focus on is edit software. Now, this is really simple nowadays because on your cell phone, you can just download a simple editing program or app, and you can just edit whatever you feel like. Film something, a little sequence of a chameleon or whatever you have, hippos, whatever is at Ndumo. I mean, there's lots of animals, so you can actually do quite a bit. Filming, writing, and administration. I'm going to share our Homebrew Films' details at the end. If you ever feel like you want to do a little bit of job shadowing for a day or two, you're more than welcome to join us. So what I want to say is this: you have a specific set of skills, but you can add to those skills within your given field. Cool. So, and then if you want to, and if that is how your future plays out, you can be, this is me at the back there in the Congo rainforest carrying a tripod. That's Claudia that I spoke of. Look at that colossal camera that he's carrying on his shoulder. We were walking in the bay trying to film some parrots, I believe, African grey parrots. Yes. And there's the guide in front. Without her, we could not have been there. We weren't allowed to be there. And she was absolutely wonderful. And she was a brilliant source of information for us as the filmmakers to make our story so much more rich, so much more involved. She is the local, and she knows how to tell the story much better than we do. Although we've done the research, we've talked to as many researchers and scientists as possible. If it was not for her, we would not have known where to look, what to look for, and some interesting characters. And then on the other side, we were busy filming for National Geographic. That was a drama. That was really cool. That was the very first drama I filmed with a nature theme. It was titled Our Connection to Water. And it was this futuristic story about a world without water and whatnot. And there we were in Alexander Bay, South Africa, filming with actors and whatnot, telling a story of a futuristic world where there is no water. We have to fight our way through. And, just a glimpse of what it could be. It was wonderful and it was exciting. And I never in my life would have thought that I would end up there. If I think about 16 years ago when Aisha and I met in the second year lab at the University of the Free State when we were studying zoology, I would never thought in a million years that I would end up there walking with a tripod or there with a clapperboard, writing down scenes, or here today talking to you and telling my story and hoping that it inspires you to tell your stories and the stories of nature and conservation that Dr. Ogilvie so expertly conveys to you. And with that, Finn, it's the end. Thank you very much for listening. Open to questions and answers. And just for your sake, before I won't take it off now, you can take down, that's my email address, ron@homebrewfilms.tv. That's our number, 021-422-3452. And we're in Cape Town, and you're more than welcome to email me or call the company. And if you want to come and visit, we always have space for students and lovers of nature. And I'll show you, either me or Aisha will show you the ropes and what we do and how we tell our stories to create a sense of wonder of the nature that we all love and share. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Your passion came through in that. It was very beautiful and very informative. I think Dr. Cheryl has a bit of a tear in her eye or something. So I think, yes. No, thank you so much, Ruan. I'm going to, I think let's leave your screen on for a bit.
Yes.
There are plenty of comments on your presentation. So I think let me start by reading two of them. And then that is from Ahmed and Amor. And then I'm going to ask Asima third if she can read her questions to you, because she has quite a few. And after that, I'm going to go to the floor with the audience. So let's go to the first one. This is from Ahmed. I like your style of documentary. Now I want to learn. Do you give lessons for this skill?
Amit, it's a good question. Thank you. And I like that you love the style of the documentary. Unfortunately, we don't. But that said, we do have internships. It's not paid internships, unfortunately, but we do give our time, and we welcome you for a week or two, and then we show you around what we do. And we try to put you with as many different people as possible. I'll for a day, you'll be with an editor to learn how we edit something together. You'll sit with a script writer. You'll go out with the camera team to see how they do filming. But as for the nitty-gritty stuff, that you'll actually have to go somewhere and learn. But I mean, you could learn it all on your own. Claudio learned it all on his own. It's not an impossible road to take. If we like you, we might, you never know, we might take you on permanently, and then you grow from there. There's so many different things that you can do in a production company that it's not impossible for you to find a place that you love. You thought you might wanted to become a camera operator, and then you end up being a colorist. I don't know. World's your oyster when it comes to producing wildlife documentaries. Hope that answers the question.
Yes. Thanks, Ruan. Thanks, Amit, for the question. I'm just going to read some comments as well. Pabalo is bravo, stunning virtual walk of nature. So thank you for that, Ruan. One from Moji is amazing video. And then there's another one here from Ahmed as well. What a brilliant story. Thank you so much, Ruan.
Pleasure, Ahmed.
So I'm going to read Amor's question, and then I'm going to go to Asima, who I'm going to ask to unmute after this. So Amor asks, how did you end up showcasing your films on the biggest channels in South Africa? Did you approach them, or do they love your work and offer you a slot? What is the story?
Okay, that's a big story. Our producer, so that's the role of the producer, Jaco Loopshe. That's what they do. So normally a big channel like the BBC or National Geographic or the SABC or Mnet in South African terms, would put out a commission. They want a program on this, and then it's an open bid for any production house. Then you, the producer, the script writers, me, Aisha, put together what we call a proposal document, and then we send that proposal document to the channel, and then they go through all of them and they decide who they want to give the job to. With that proposal document, you also send a proposed budget. So I can do it for less than they can do it, and then whatever. So that's a little bit of a hit and a miss, but it's basically giving a presentation of what is possible. And what usually makes it work, what makes it a success, is the people that we know, the people in the field, the fixers. If we know researchers that are doing really cool research, and we know that we are the only people that have a good understanding and relationship with them, then we can write a really cool story, something that immediately hits the mark, and we know we'll probably get it. It's also fun and useful to be in South Africa because we can quote in Rand, which is always much cheaper than American dollars. So we can do it for less than the Americans or the British or the whatever can do it. So that's also, but that's more business, the business side of it, but that's how it works. Or the other way around is that we propose something and we sell our idea to different channels or different production houses or whatever, co-productions we call those. And that's really important. We do that often and a lot. We're busy with one now about chameleons, and we're going to try and sell that to a big I completely forgot the word, but a big company in Europe. So we know they like that type of thing. So hopefully we get it. But those are basically the two ways we do it. Yeah, that's the story.
Thank you, Ruan. Okay, I'm going to ask Asima to unmute now. After that, I'm going to ask Nong Kululeku. Following that is Kabalo. So Asima, Marit, are you able to help me find her? Oh, you there?
Hear me?
Okay,
Yes.
hi Asima.
Okay. I just have about 3 questions, and then afterwards I'm done. So basically, my first question is, do you have like perhaps a specific target audience? And then if so, what type of techniques do you use to like, get their attention?
Cool. That's a great question. So we know from experience and from market research that different parts of the world like different types of stories. So the Americans, they love blood, guts, and gore and fast-paced, oh, the most dangerous lion in the world, and whatnot. And the British don't like that at all. They just want to know the lions in Southern Africa walk on the plains and la, 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 la. So you know what they like. So with that comes the choice of music, the word choice, and the way you actually just tell the story. So if we know that it's an American audience, we always zoosh it up a bit, make it more dramatic and dangerous, the most poisonous, venomous animals in the world. So that's what the Americans love. They love that. And that's what sells best there. So if we get a commission from North America, that's what we go for. That's how we tell the story. And that's usually the case with National Geographic. It's always very dramatic. It's a lot of drama. It's a lot of unnecessary things. We don't know necessarily like it as South Africans. And then if we have something from Europe or Britain, actually the whole Asia, basically, they love the more classic style of documentary making. This is very broad. It's not always like this, but it's a very broad answer to your question. The more classic David Attenborough-ish stuff, big music, slow moving animals, just lovely nature scenes that we are used to. So that's basically it. But then you could also have it all depends on the contract and the client. The client might already have an audience and a voice and a storyline in mind. So if you get it, then you just follow their guidelines and you try to do it as best as possible within the scope that the client gives you. That's it. That's your first one. Asima?
Oh, she's muted. Sorry, Asima.
Sorry, I was So my second question is, what about the rural areas? Like, how do you get your message across to them? Do you do like perhaps a role play for them, or what exactly how do you accommodate for them? Because remember, in the rural areas, there isn't like electricity and television and all these kind of things. So
It's a very good question. So wherever we film, we always make sure that we give back. That's one of the main things that we do, that we give back to the people and the people that we work with, whether that be, like you said, in a rural area, wherever. So what we try and do is we try and, as far as possible, create something that is specific to that area, specific to the conservancy that we work in. It's usually within a conservancy that we work in. And that we give them something that is purpose-made for them to use in whatever capacity is possible. So that's something that we gauge with every single group of people or in organization that we work with. So whenever we are there, we always ask them, okay, listen, this is what we have. We have footage. That's what we do. How can we use this? And how can we create something that is possible for you to use in whatever way you see fit, whether it is for fundraising or educational purposes or whatnot. It's very specific to every single area that we use, that we film in. and stuff like that. But we've always done that. If it's a research group, we always tell them, listen, you have free access to our footage. You can use it in whatever way possible, as long as you thank us. If it is the Makuleke that we just formed in the Bafuri region, or formed with in the Bafuri, in the Kruger National Park, we are busy working with Aubrey Makuleke to try and make something that can make a difference within the community, something that they can use in the local school, or that they can use on the local radio station, or in any way fit that Aubrey's taking the lead there. But then we always try and give back, and keeping in mind what is needed and what can and cannot be done within the area that you're at. That's something we're really very strict, not strict about. That's what makes and sets Homebrew Films apart, because we always share everything that we have in whatever way possible.
Okay, thank you. And then for my last question, can I give it a go?
Yes, please, please. I'm all ears.
So basically I wanted to know, how long does it take to make like one film? And then like, what is the cost? Yeah, let's first stick to that one, then I'll go for my next question after.
Okay, cool. So the duration and then the costs.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Ooh. Okay, cool. It can take anything from, if you have a lot of money, it could take 3 years to produce a 1-hour documentary. But we don't have that much money in South Africa. So we can, if we really push, if push comes to shove, we can push something out in 3 months. A really good documentary we can push out in 3 months' time. Costs, that's really expensive. Making nature documentaries is a very expensive thing. We just did we are doing 3 1-hour-long documentaries at this specific time. I'm not going to say the name, but we budgeted for what, 13 million rand for each one of those. And then you have to really work cleverly with your money, otherwise it runs out quite quickly. It sounds like a lot of money, and it is a lot of money, because the stuff that we work with and the places we go are quite expensive. But yeah, so now, and it depends, if we film in South Africa, it's not that much at all. You can do a really good documentary for 1 million rand, which is also a lot of money. But yeah, if you want to do a good, proper international documentary, it goes into the tens of millions of rand. So yeah, here you go.
Thank you. And then for my last question. Now, for real, like that last question. So basically, I wanted to know, is there like a specific number of viewers that you need to have for that specific movie to be successful? And then if so, what happens if you do not meet that specific goal? Does it become unsuccessful? What exactly happens?
So it's important not to, this is a difficult question actually, because you shouldn't confuse box office movies like the big ones in Hollywood and whatnot. So if they don't make enough money, that's how they recuperate their costs. In our line of work, we get paid. So we propose a budget that gets accepted and we get paid. So we don't make any loss. Everything's already in there. But the companies that we sell it to, I mean, that's a hit and a miss. If people like it, they like it. If they don't, they don't. And that's why it's important to, where I mentioned that it's a team effort, that you have the best people in the team to make sure that you produce the best film possible to make money in the end, to make sure that it runs for a long period of time on a given channel or wherever, that it gets reshown every few years. Usually it stays in a catalog, and then different channels all over the world can view the catalog, and they can reorder the program for later stages. So hopefully it was really good, and they keep on reordering it, and it keeps on repeating on television channels. But that really is a hit and a miss. So hopefully you did a good job, and you understand what's going on, and you get to, or your program gets to run on television or any streaming platform, for that matters, for a long time.
So
That's actually my role.
Okay.
That's not actually my role, so it's not something that I know a lot of, but that's in my understanding of it, how it works.
okay, so
Okay.
usually the company is the one who's at the loss if the movie does not basically reach its target market or whatever it is.
So repeat that, Asima, please.
So I'm saying, since you say that you guys basically are never at a loss, it's always a profit for you. So the one basically who would be, what can I say, like negatively impacted would be the company who has invested in that specific movie.
Yes. Yes. Or if I didn't do my job correctly and I wasted all the money and we have to pay in, then we also make a loss. So I need to make sure that the budget that I proposed, we keep to that budget, that I don't overspend. Then, I mean, we will also make a loss. But yeah, the main losses would be the company that procured the television program from, or the documentary from us. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
That'll
Thank you very much, Asima.
Thank you, Asima. I think I'm just going to squeeze in here and add on. Ruan studied pure biology. He's got his master's in zoology. But I think what helps you a lot, Ruan, is the fact that you're so passionate about sums as well, because that is sort of the hidden skills in science. So you've got that. And so I think that also helps a lot now with the budgeting. And like I said, Ruan loves reading. So it's all these extra skills that you need to gain as you're building yourself up. So keep that in mind, students.
It's very important.
Okay, so let's go to Nonkululeku. I'm going to ask you to unmute, and then Pabalo.
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity. That was an amazing talk. I learned a lot. And my question is very much similar to Amos, the first question that you answered, Mr. Schlebusch. I wanted to find out if these companies, there were companies on your screen, like at the beginning of the talk, there was SABC, National Geographic, BBC, and. I wanted to know if those companies come to you and tell you what they want, like, could you please go and record a pride of lions, like in their normal behavior, and you do that for them? Or are you always in the field documenting and taking footage of anything and everything in nature, and then you come back and sell it to them? I just wanted to, know how the relationship is. Do they come to you and tell you what they want, or do you go out there and take anything and everything, your best work, and then come and present it to them in an effort to try and get it to sell? And you guys don't broadcast anything yourselves, right? Like, you just record and then they, I hope I'm clear.
So the first part of your question, it's all of the above. Whenever we're in the field, we film everything. The BBC does it differently. They go out with a script, a very strict script, and they film that particular sequence. So if they want an orangutan in Borneo going down a tree, that's what they film. And we don't have money or time for that. So we film everything that we can. We have a very broad idea of what the documentary is going to be about, and we film everything. But that said, we also have a rather big library of footage that we can sell. So if anyone contacts us, and so let's say the BBC calls us, and they did a few weeks ago, and the producer asked for footage of meerkats, I believe. And I said, yes, we do. We filmed it then. It's a family. It was filmed in the Kalahari, blah, 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 blah. This is it. This is how much footage we have. This is how much we're going to ask. Are you interested? So yes, all of those above, everything. And then What was your last question?
Now, the last question was, no, you think you answered
Oh,
everything.
yes. No, we do not broadcast anything. We're not a broadcaster.
Oh, yeah,
We're just
yeah,
a production house. So no, we don't broadcast. We don't have that that ability. So we just sell our programs to broadcasters like Mnet, like the SABC, like BBC, like National Geographic. So yeah, no, we just produce and then we sell off to broadcasters like that.
Okay, thank you.
No, Sonia, pleasure.
Okay, thank you. And thank you, Ruan. Papalo, I'm going to ask you to unmute, and then I'm going to go to the chat again because we're on the hour now. So I think we have about 10 minutes left. So Papalo, floor is yours.
Good morning, Mr. Ruan. Good morning, everyone. I'm Pavalo, a student from TTUT, and I don't have a question, but on behalf of the Tshwane University of Technology, I would like to thank you for such a well broken down and a very insightful talk. I'm confident to say that your knowledge will be used to greater use, and that I'm confident that some of my classmates will end up in your industry and because of this talk. So
Wonderful. Thank you, Pavalo.
that's it. And you've mentioned something about giving back to the community as much as possible when talking to ASI. So to think of it, I've been exposed to a very special community for the past 2 weeks at KZN, then Dumo community through a Dumo community project. And what I've been exposed to and what I saw there was very eye-opening. The locals, the community, the reserve itself. So, and I think that with the work we did there and the message we tried to spread as much as possible, with your help, I think the message could be spread much further and to the right ears. And I think if you take your time and try to collaborate with that special community, we could bring out something.
No, that's a brilliant idea, Pavalo. Dr. Ogilvy is clapping her hands down. It really is something that we should think about and really make work of, because it's such a wonderful thing that happens there with TUT, the amazing work that Dr. Ogilvy and all you students are doing there. It really is a story worth telling. So definitely.
Yeah, we will try.
Thank you very much for your comments, Pavalo.
Ruan, we
Thank
still
you
got
very
that
much.
date, eh?
We still have that data, right? I was just thinking about that now.
We actually spent the most amazing 2 weeks. We got back, I think, Sunday. A very tired team, but I must tell you, it was the most motivated, committed, caring team that I've ever worked with. There was not one morning that I had to chase students out of tents, even though the going got tough. Those kids were welcomed. We did paint, we did icebreakers, and we played the most amazing hands-on games, which taught them not only ecology, but taught them the impacts that they were having on their environment. And just through a very simple technique, these kids understood what the impacts of poaching, deforestation, washing in rivers. Some children actually got very angry when those 4 learners that were identified to be a poacher and a deforester stole all the cards, that those children tried to steal the cards back, and then they understood, geez, this is what is really happening. And I had the most amazing team helping me. Yes, we came back tired. I was nailed by biting flies. You could have made a documentary on my beautiful legs. I couldn't even press the clutch of the cruiser. So, yeah, let's just say we had some fun, and I think the word got out there. But Ruan and Aisha, I think it's time you got to Ndumu to film this.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's true. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful story,
Yeah.
and it needs. Yeah, I agree.
But
No,
also
definitely.
from my side, thank you, Ron. You opened my students' eyes, and it's just not talk and chalk. you can actually, and what you are doing, you're making history. So people can go back for years and review and review and review. Just like my students are watching these share screens over and over, and the LCAs over and over, they're forever there and they will never disappear. So you have just made history, and thank you very much. You've given my students something to think about. And it's not just being a manager of a protected area or going in and being a social ecologist. You can actually go into the field that you two are in. And I think it's a very worthwhile field. But thank you for taking your time and sharing the special time with my students and all the other students that are on now as well. Even Moji Kitsi was on. He's from Welgevonden Environmental Awareness Program, and he assisted me for the last 2 weeks. And he made a comment on the chat saying, we definitely need to have a chat with the two of you, because what he does as well is very similar to what I've been doing for years at Indumu. And he's amazing the way he works with learners. If you look at our Facebook page, you'll see what we have done. And I'm proud of my students. And yeah, Ruan, I'm proud of you too, Aisha. Yeah, you guys are making a difference, and thank you. Never
Thank
give
you.
up.
Thank you so much, Dr. Cheryl. Yes, Ruan, you gave a talk recently also for Share Screen Africa, where you compared this type of work to cave paintings,
Yes.
amongst other things. It's a story. A story is lost for eons, not just for the moment. I'm going to just read a few more comments and one more question from the chat before we close floor. So from Tsepang Mudise, what a beautiful story. There is so much to learn. Thank you for an adventure that you made, showing us those videos. That was amazing.
Pleasure.
Another one, Daniel Krunia. So, capital letters, awesome. Thanks for the insight, Ruan. Mark van Jeerden, excellent presentation, Ruan. Thank you. Okay, then there's two questions now. One is from Ahmed. Is there a form to fill in for the internship application?
Amit, we're very low-key at Homebrew. You just mail me. Just use my email, mail me. You say you want to do an internship, and I say yes. When do you want to do it? And there's no forms really. I mean, everyone's welcome. They really.
Yeah, I think if you Google, we had your contact details up. I don't know if we should put it up again while I go to this last question, Marit.
Yes. I'm going to share it quickly again with you, and then we can handle the last question. There you go.
Yeah, you can ask Ruan anything. You can ask him about his work, about his books, about his exercise routine, anything. So another one from Falana Sensu. How do you stay safe in the field of filming animals? Do some animals ever approach you guys?
Oh yes, goodness. So I have many scary stories and a few instances where we literally almost died. But we're lucky here because we follow the rules and regulations as stipulated by the national parks, by the reserves, by the people that we work with. I mean, we're not the experts when we go in there. The people that we work with are the experts. So the game rangers are the experts. If they tell us, look, it's safe, you can get out, we get out. If we're not allowed to get out, we don't get out. We don't push the boundaries. We don't try our luck. That's stupid. You follow the rules and just make sure that you keep safe. But yes, I'm going to tell you one story. We were in the Wafuri region, way up in the north of the Kruger National Park, and we were filming in the fever tree forest. And we were literally standing outside of the game drive vehicle, and the ranger said it's fine, we can be out, he'll be on the lookout and whatnot. And we were standing filming a tree, which sounds a bit boring, but sometimes you have to film trees. And out of nowhere, this colossal bull elephant, very angry bull elephant, stormed at us. And he stormed and stormed, and the ranger was screaming, just stand still, don't move. And the elephant and we were so frightened, the cameraman never stopped filming. Our Pumlani, brilliant man. He never stopped filming, he just stood there. And you see this elephant coming closer, and literally it wasn't 3 meters in front of us. The bull stopped. And he looked at us for what felt like ever, a very long time. And then quite casually, he just strolled off again after, I mean, but if he didn't stop, we would not, I wouldn't have been here today. I mean, if he trampled on us, he would not have stopped. But luckily we listened, and it wasn't our first time in the field, so we know what to expect and what to do in circumstances like those. But you just really have to follow the guidelines of the people that you work with, the rangers, the researchers. That's really important. That's it. That's how we keep safe as is humanly possible. But there are times that people do get injured, and then you just make sure that your insurance policies are all in place. So that when they do call me in the office, then I'm ready for any story that might pop up somewhere. But it does happen. It really does happen. You just have to make sure that you follow the guidelines. That's all. It's as easy as that. Don't break the rules. Those particular rules. Other rules you're allowed to break, but that's the one place where you don't lie. Don't bend the truth in those circumstances. But yeah, that's
I think everyone in this audience is glad that elephant didn't attack you, right?
Yep, makes for a good story though, but it wasn't something particularly. Yeah, no, remember fondly.
I'm just going to take one more question. Anything
Yes.
after this, we're going to send into email for one. So one from Salu Maluleka. Thank you for the talk. We are very blessed. Yes, we are blessed to have you around, Ruan. Do you only film in national parks and reserves, or do you also go to rehabilitation centers or zoological areas?
Hi, Sela, how are you doing? It's lovely to hear from you. Thank you for joining. We film wherever there is a story. So, I mean, we've used rehabilitation centers quite a lot. We did an entire documentary on meerkats at a rehabilitation center, the whole thing in one area. And then other zoological, of course we do. I mean, there's researchers all over the world in not only national parks and reserves, but on farms, on everywhere, wherever there's really cool research or really cool work happening, that's where we're at. And I can promise you, every other production company or house in the world has exactly the same idea as we do. Wherever the research at, there is where we're filming. So it could be anywhere. Could be in someone's house, for all you know. They could be breeding a very rare lizard in a glass tub. I don't know. That's a cool story. If you're there, you're there. If that's where the research happens, that's where we go. So wherever the story is, that is where we're filming.
Yeah, Ruan and I always make this joke is that I think with the soapies or with the cooking shows, you can ask the chef to come at a certain time. But with the nature documentaries, I mean, they don't have a schedule. They don't read the books. So we wait on them.
Yeah, and then weather is the main, I don't know, hurdle that you have is weather. You never know when it's going to rain or not. And if it rains, then you film the rain, but you can only film as much rain as you can. I mean, then it gets really boring, but you film everything. That is the most important bit. You film every sunset and every sunrise. You film the moon, you do star trails, you film the grass, you film the rain, you film everything, because you don't know when you're going to need a shot like that. That's the number one rule. We film absolutely everything of interest and not.
Okay, so we're 15 minutes over the hour. And so with that, I'm going to say once again, thank you so much, Ruan. Even I learned a lot today, and I speak to you every single day. All those are echoed in the floor. It was a phenomenal, very exciting, very passionate, very informative talk. So thank you. And then to our audience, TUT and the lovely Dr. Cheryl Ogilvie, thank you.